Welcome to our Black History virtual celebration. We are excited to have you guys today. Our theme this year and program is Lead with Ambitions. We have a great speaker for you guys today. The purpose of this program is to educate, inspire, and empower leaders of tomorrow. Before we hear from our special guest, I would like to allow my business partner and wife, my beautiful wife, Duranda White, to tell you a little bit more about the future ambitious services that we offer. So she's coming in.
All right, go ahead and mute your mic there. We are glad to be here today, and I am so glad to be ready for the Lead with Ambition conference. I'd like to welcome all of you to the conference, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. We have a wonderful lineup today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about future ambitions. Our goal at Future Ambitions is to educate, empower, inspire all students to achieve and sustain academic excellence that builds and creates a career pathway leading to a purposeful, successful, and productive future in a diverse society. Some of the services that we offer are personalized tutoring, academic and career coaching. Now we're offering the virtual assistants, mentorship services, employability training, test prep. And I want you to remember that all of our tutors are certified teachers. And we cannot forget the scholarships that are available through the Florida Department of Education, where you can sign up. So if you need more details, you can reach us at futureambitionsllc.com. And remember, go on our website, check us out, and see how we can serve you. These are some of the things that we have done in the future. We're all about educating, empowering the students at the high school level, the graduate level. And today we are inspiring you to dream even bigger and to be a leader. So lead with ambition. Thank you.
Outstanding. Today we have a great speaker for you guys. His name is Darrick McGhee Sr. Just to let you guys know a lot of great about Mr. McGhee. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science and religion lobbyist in the state of Florida and have served as the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Executive Office of Governor Rick Scott. And most importantly, Mr. McGhee is a loving father and husband. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to present to you Mr. McGhee.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. And as I've said before, I want to thank you for the invitation. So very honored to be a part of this great vision and our great month, our Black History Month program. And so thank you so very much. And good morning to everyone who is watching us now and may even watch the rebroadcast of this. Hope you all are doing well. Happy Black History Month to you. We're near the end of this month of celebration where we think back on our history and we pay honor, respect, and homage to those who paved the way for us. And this morning, for the time allotted to me, I want to speak directly to you through the theme of lead with ambition. I think it's so important for us to understand what this means and that we focus ourselves in that regard. And so when you think about ambition, ambition is best described and defined as a strong desire to achieve something, typically requiring a determination and hard work. Again, a strong desire to achieve something, typically requiring of you determination and hard work. So when you think about that, I want to deal with this in three different facets. I want to deal with it from past leaders. I want to deal with it from current leaders, and I want to deal with it from future leaders. We are celebrating a month because of past leadership that paved the way for us. There were many who had to shed sweat and shed blood so that we may be able to enjoy what we have today. If you think about it from a heritage perspective, our heritage begins not in America, but it begins in Mother Africa, where our ancestors years gone by found themselves with innovative ideas, and they were entrepreneurs and family men and women. And then the transition from Africa to America, where we found ourselves in slavery, we being our ancestors find themselves in slavery. And now you go from freedom and innovation and entrepreneurship to now you are bound and you are working to try to still continue to dream if you have set out. When we think about creation, we think about inventions. There are inventions that were began by our ancestors that we're just learning today. They played a critical role in that. We talk a lot about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., someone whom I greatly respect and admire, someone whose speeches I always find strength and encouragement in, someone that no matter what your genealogy, no matter what your background is, you have heard something, if not many things about Dr. King. There were many other individuals who played a critical role in that regard. I think it's important for us to know when you think about the fight for civil rights, you think about the 1950s and 1960s where Dr. King and others were fighting unapologetically about civil rights. The movement for civil rights was not just about voting rights, although that was critical and that was major, but it was a lot more. It was also about economic empowerment and financial empowerment and social empowerment, that we not only wanted to be treated equally, but also have equal access to the same thing that our other colleagues of other races enjoy. But along with Dr. King, you had people like Thurgood Marshall, who worked very diligently to help out men and women who found themselves being disenfranchised by the legal system. Thurgood Marshall would travel the country upon request by the NAACP and others to go represent Black men and Black women who found themselves being wrongly accused or wrongly incarcerated. And he would fight a system that seemed not to recognize Black man and Black woman. That fight, brothers and sisters, was in a system that many never really understood, that he learned what the laws of the land were and how to make sure that those laws recognize and appreciate us. We hear about Rosa Parks, who refused to give up her seat on the bus, and she was tired from a hard working day and she refused to give up her seat. And because of that, that began a greater movement. But I want to speak to you about leaders that many of us never really hear about. As much as I'm grateful for those. Think about your grandmother and your grandfather, the ones who who had many children, and they worked every single day. No fanfare, no recognition, no honoring by the local paper or the local charter, but they worked hard to set an example for your parents and you. These are the leaders from the past who made the way for us to be able to have what we have. When we think about Black History Month, this is a month where we recognize historical impact that Blacks have made, that we have to understand the intergenerational connection between generations gone by and generations of today, because today's generation would not have what it has, would not be afforded opportunity that it has, but were not for those before us. Again, the Dr. King, the Thurgood Marshalls, the Frederick Douglasses of the world, the Malcolm X's, these individuals who fought and paved the way so that the next generation would have a better opportunity and other privileges. When you think about Selma and what that stands for and what crossing that bridge really meant, think about men and women who were hosed down because they refused to bow down. You think about those fights. When they were marching, they understood that one of three outcomes could be the possibility. You could either find themselves being incarcerated, find themselves being beaten, battered, and bruised, or could find themselves being killed. And understanding the magnitude of that torture and that pain, they still stood. And they still stood because this is important to understand. Leaders lead from the front. And in order for you to inspire people to follow your leadership, you have to be willing to be out front. When we go through the history of the contributions of Black men and women in the past, you realize they led out front. They led with their feet and with their mouths. They made sure that they were not silent in the wrong places. And so we acknowledge and appreciate past leaders who really paved the way and made an impact, who showed us, who gave us the imagery, gave us the mirror that we actually can do this and do it successfully. And then we have current leaders who have benefited from our past leaders, people like President Barack Obama, people like First Lady Michelle Obama, people who are able to make the impact, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. We have people both near and far, even in various local governments. There are people who, for the first time, that city has elected the first time attorney general, the first time mayor, the first time city council member, whatever it may be. Current leaders, sometimes we don't give them the same acknowledgement or recognition, but it's important to understand that somebody has to be the trendsetter. Someone has to step up. And you can't do that without ambition. Again, remember now, ambition is a strong desire to achieve something that typically requires determination and hard work. What that simply means is having the willingness to do what others say can't be done. You think about some of the names that we have mentioned, think about some of the people who've gone before us and what they had to endure so that we would have the privileges that we had. Think about those who fought for women to have the right to vote. Think about those who fought for Blacks to have the right to vote. Think about those who fought to make sure that their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren would have a better opportunity than they had. They had ambition. They led from that place. And they understood what the backdrop looked like. They understood what the backlash would look like. They understood the mockery of their behavior, but they also understood that if I don't stand and persevere, if I don't stand and press and push and propel my way this way, then those behind me won't have a chance to be able to do it. And that's important to understand. So we give kudos to our past leaders. We acknowledge them, we recognize them, we appreciate them for setting the foundation, for laying that cornerstone for us. And then our present leaders, those who've been able to stand on the shoulders of those men and women, those who are able now to be CEOs of companies, those who are able now to be able to be business owners, those who are able now to be able to run for office, win office, and lead from the front and not from the back. And not because he or she did it on their own, but because they are on the shoulders of those who fought for them. When we think about ambition, we think about leading. I aforementioned about you have to lead from the front, but also you have to understand this now. If no one is following you, you're not leading, you're just on a very long walk. You have the influence to lead other people, but people will only follow your leadership if they believe you actually are walking a path worth following. This is important to understand for us because anyone can call themselves a leader, and a leader may not be one who is leading hundreds of people. You may have one person, literally one person, who finds themselves following you. That therefore makes you a leader. Now, the challenge and the charge for you is how am I leading this one person? How am I influencing this one person? How am I impacting, imparting, investing in this one person? These are key questions that you have to answer, because hear me loud and clear now. If you are not aware of those who are following you, if you're not aware of why they are following you, you can lead them the wrong way. Many people have dreams, goals, desires, and aspirations, but it takes you being willing to do in the dark what other people are not willing to do. There are going to be moments where you're going to shed tears. There are going to be moments where you're going to feel brokenhearted, moments when you feel rejected, moments when you feel like no one sees you nor appreciate what you are doing. But ambitious people find a way to build themselves up. From a scriptural perspective, this is important to know. Paul says to Timothy, he says, stir up the gift that's within you. What Paul is saying to Timothy, I say to you, it's already in you that which you need to be able to ambitiously lead and persevere. Some of us, we do better when the heat gets up hotter because that which in you begins to get stirred and you feel the boiling taking place. We have past leaders who we honor and respect because they stood in the face of opposition. They endured the punishment of the oppressor, of the oppression, to make sure that those who followed them was one step closer to the entry of a door they couldn't go in, one step closer to access to things they normally have access to. We have current leaders who, because of our past leaders, current leaders who are now enjoying these great benefits. Current leaders, we can name national names, but I'm talking about current leaders like your parents, like grandparents, like that teacher who we never acknowledged, but we realized that teacher was the reason why you stayed in school. That after school counselor who kept speaking life to you and telling you you can do this. The current leaders who told you that you could be the first generation of your family to go to college and to do the right thing. Those leaders. But then we talk about future leaders. And I want you to hear this now. Future leaders may not be someone on a billboard on a national scale, but you who are listening to me, you are one of the future leaders. Never think because you are young in age that you're not equipped to be a future leader, but you can. There are people today who are investing in you, people today who are trying to shape you into the right place. If you steel yourself to receive of this counsel, you will appreciate, you will greatly understand what it means. There are people who have walked the path you are walking, who can help you avoid the pitfalls if we keep our ears keen to the voice, if we listen to the counsel. I understand that there are times when we feel like previous generations are old-fashioned and what they do and how they do things are so old and standard. But I will say this to you. They can help you. They can help us avoid the stumbles and the falls they had to endure. Why repeat the mistakes if somebody can help you not endure those things? Future leaders. You have stories of young people at young ages now pursuing upper academia because they were pushed and propelled. You have younger entrepreneurs now, people who are in their early and late teens who are owning businesses now, who are employing people because there were people around them who encouraged them and told them this could be done. In this Black History Month, what makes our history so impactful is honoring our past, is appreciating our current, but also acknowledging that the future requires us to keep going. I'm a father of two wonderful children, a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I'm blessed beyond measure to have my wife and I to have these great children. But I also understand, as does my wife, that part of our job as parents is not only to raise them to be a great man and a great woman, but also to help them begin further than we did, to make sure that when we propel them into their future, that they don't have to endure some of the struggles we had to endure. This is This takes an understanding that for some of you, you're the first fruit. Now, what does that mean? I mean, you're the first one in your family to go to college, or the first one in your family to graduate from high school, first one in your family to get married, the first one in your family not to be in the penitentiary system, the first one in your family to do right by your finances, first one, et cetera, et cetera. You're the first one. And you realize that it's challenging being first because you are the one literally writing the blueprint, writing the manual for others to follow. And it's challenging. It's challenging because many think that you are crazy for doing what you're doing. You know how many leaders were laughed at when they were trying to do things and nobody could ever see it getting done? You know how many people actually mocked these leaders because they thought it was idiotic. Dr. King's approach to nonviolence was mocked initially because people felt like, why would you turn the other cheek when they're going to smack you on that cheek as well? Why not meet them arm for arm? Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. What that means is I'm going to meet you, the same level of force you bring to me, I'm going to give the same to you in return. They had two different approaches to freedom and to justice, two different approaches. Thurgood Marshall, as I aforementioned, he fought the fight in the courtroom. You had athlete Jesse Owens, he fought the fight in the Olympics. He stood and he propelled in a place where he really shouldn't have been able to run because blacks weren't even seen really as citizens. Think about men and women going by who were blacks who would go off and fight for a war only to come back home and not even be acknowledged as an American citizen. But they did this because they were thinking beyond themselves. They were thinking about their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. They were paving a way. And for you, future leader, listen to me. There is someone before you who endured the sweat equity, who endured the pain, who shed the blood so that current leaders will be able to stand upon that. But these current leaders are paving a way for you. And we mess ourselves up when we don't understand the bridge by which that brought us over. Somebody had to extend themselves so that you and I would have the opportunities we have now. And when you lead with ambition, it's going to take hard work. You have to be determined. You have to be driven. You have to be willing to do what others will not do. You have to be willing to put in what's necessary to get the results that you want. I want to share this with you. I grew up in some trying times. We didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. We didn't have a lot of materialist possessions when I was growing up. We didn't have a lot of land that our family owned. We didn't have that. I never struggled with the love in my family. There was love all around me, but we didn't have what many other people had. So my mother, what she would do is she would instill in us that I would not allow your socioeconomic status, your financial status in life would not be your excuse. My mother believed that if you ever told her what the bar was of expectation, if you expect my children to be here academically, my kids are going to see and exceed that bar. And she was not going to allow the excuses of teacher doesn't like me and we don't have that. No. What's the bar? And once you tell me what the bar is, she was guaranteed that her two boys were going to exceed that bar because she knew what she was putting in her two boys. That same training that I received from mama and from daddy and from my grandparents, I now impart in my children. Here is why. Because I am the fruit of the seed that my grandparents planted. I am the fruit of the seed that my parents planted. And therefore my children are the fruit of the seed that my wife and I are planting. And you understand about sowing seed, after you sow a seed, you have to cultivate the ground to make sure that seed can come up in good ground. You have to water that seed. You have to make sure you're tending to that seed. But eventually the seed that you put in the ground will begin to break forth. It will begin to come up. But before it ever sprouts up, it builds roots beneath the surface. And I'm saying to you that you are able to stand through trials of life because your roots are firmly planted beneath the surface. Many people can't see it. They don't understand how you continue to get up after you've been through what you've been through. It's because your roots are firmly rooted, firmly cemented beneath the surface. That's how you're able to lead with ambition, how you're able to endure the agony when you want to give up, but you don't give up. It's because there is something inside of you. It's because you realize I stand on the shoulders of people who have been through more than I've been through, and they made it possible. I love Black History Month. I love the Black history. I love reading about and hearing about and remembering the path that was paved for me to have what I have. I thoroughly enjoy it, but shame on me and shame on us to know this history and not want to make our contribution to it. Shame on us for knowing this history and not telling this history. Shame on us for knowing this history and not helping push someone into their own narrative, their own story. When you lead with ambition, you have to be dedicated when nobody else is. When you lead with ambition, to give hard, you have to be willing to do hard work when no one else will. Past leaders did that. Current leaders are doing that, and future leaders must do that. I'll say it to you once again. Past leaders did that. Current leaders are doing that, and future leaders must be willing to do that. You will not be able to make the impact you want to make if you're unwilling. Listen to me now. If you're unwilling to put in what's necessary to get the results that you want. There is a generation coming after you that needs for you not to give up prematurely. There's a generation coming after you that needs for you to further pave the way for them. There's a generation coming after you that needs for you to show them and tell them how you're able to make it and succeed. They need you to do this. But if you give up too soon, throw in the towel too soon, if you quit too soon, guess what happens? You abort their opportunity to be able to build upon that which you have laid before them. Today, you're standing on a foundation that was built before you even got here. Today, you're able to walk on a foundation that was paid for you. Today, I understand this month is the shortest month of the year. I understand that you can be upset about that. Or you can research and realize the contributions that we make. Our history can't be defined in 28 days. And what you are doing, and never be in the paper, and never be on TV, and never be known by a large crowd of people. But if you're impacting one person, if you're leading one person, if one person can come back and say, if it were not for you believing in me, I wouldn't be where I am. If you can do that impact, that's great leadership. That's absolutely great leadership. Many will never know the tears that you shed, the sacrifices that you made. They may never know that. But I'm telling you, when you do your history, you realize you're not the first one to face opposition. Won't be the last one to face opposition. But when you face it, how will you attack what's in front of you? No leader, no matter what their race is, no leader, no matter what their gender is, no leader can stand in your face and tell you that he or she did it by themselves. It's not true. Someone helped. Someone pushed them directly or indirectly. Someone shook them directly or indirectly. Somebody kept being in their ear saying, you can do this. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Someone. And I've come today to tell you, young man, young woman, older man, older woman, I've come to tell you that every day you wake up in the morning, there's another day for you to be driven, to be motivated, to lead, to be ambitious in what you do, to be determined in what you do, to be driven by in what you are doing. The only person that does not have pressure upon him or her is a dead person. When you wake up, you ought to wake up motivated and driven to do more, When you lead with ambition, you understand that I have to put in sweat equity. I have to be willing to do what others will not do because there's other people behind me following me. Leadership is bigger than a title, bigger than a position. Leadership is influence. It's your ability to influence someone to keep going, to keep trying, to keep pressing, to keep believing. And today, maybe that's my charge in your life, is to say to you, keep going, keep persevering, keep pursuing, keep pressing. Do not give up now. You're not the first single mother, not the first single father, not the first one to try to raise children on limited income, not the first one, not the first one. I'm the product of a household with limited resources. But thank be unto God, look at me now. I'm coming to tell you not the first one, but guess what? You have a story to tell that no one else can tell it better than you. Past leaders, current leaders, future leaders. Your age does not disqualify you from being in the future category. You have a charge. You have a responsibility. We have leaders who impacted us greatly, greatly. We are today benefactors of that. When Dr. King talked about the last speech he gave before he was assassinated the next day in Memphis, Tennessee, he talked about the promised land. And he said, I may not get there with you, but I've seen the promised land. He said, I've seen the promised land. Some say that he was prophetic in what he was uttering, that he knew he was not going to live much longer. So he was telling them, I may not get there with you, but I've seen the promised land. But I want you to know this. I want you to know this. When 2008 happened, Barack Obama won presidency, that's part of the prophecy that he said that he foresaw. But it's not just that. It's you today, young man and young woman, you today understanding that you are able to make a contribution. So I shake you this morning by saying lead, but don't just lead with ambition. God bless you.
Man, my mind is blown right now. I got a lot out of this. I'm filled right now. You just don't know. I really, really appreciate this. As you speak, and I'm over here in the background taking mass notes. I got a lot out of your what you were saying, man. One of the things I really appreciate, the roots. How deep is your roots? And that's what I want to expound on is your roots is grounded.
Yeah.
And you're going to grow and be strong. So be a strong leader. That's one of the things I got out of it. And the adversity that you may have to endure, but keep pressing through. This is a great, great, great time as this right now. And know your Black history. Just know your history, period, no matter what.
Yes.
Because I always have a saying, in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you come from.
That's right.
So, Mr. McGee, you just don't know. I really appreciate you, man. I'm sitting back here, just mind being blown, just taking notes. Huh? So I really appreciate this, Mr. McGee. I really do.
Yes, sir.
So I will be getting up with you. For everybody else, I hope you got out as much as I hope y'all got out as much as I got out of this. And I will be getting with you after this, Mr. McGee.
Yes, sir.
And y'all have a great, wonderful afternoon. Is there anything else you want to kind of expound on? Like I said, these was a lot of great things I have down. But is there anything else you want to say in closing, sir?
The last thing I would say to everyone who is listening, and it's very simple message to you, but it's clear. Never allow someone else's doubt become your reality. What that simply means is just because they don't believe it can be done doesn't mean that it can't be done. Everyone who is doing something somebody had to do it for the first time for other people to be able to do it. And why not you be that one who do it for the first time?
I'm sorry, I'm over here trying to learn this. I agree. I agree. Again, man, I really appreciate this.
My honor.
And I will be getting up with you. And everybody else, thank you for your time. And for the ones who are going to watch it, I thank you. Hey, this is a good one. This is a good one. So I appreciate everything, okay? And I'll be giving you a call, sir.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you all.
Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.